Hi and welcome to today's live chapter reading of Shattered by Lisa Wood, courtesy of Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Olivia. The tears streamed down my face as I climbed into my car. I should have known better to believe that bastard. At 26, I had probably been the oldest virgin in the whole damn world. I wanted love and marriage, the whole 9 yards. Dan and I had dated for 2 years. Until recently, he'd been very patient with my choice. About 2 months ago, he started pushing a little further until this week he told me that he absolutely planned to marry me, that he loved me. I did the stupidest thing ever. I gave in. Honestly, so not worth the wait. Based on that experience, I don't understand why people make such a big deal about sex. Maybe it would have been better had he made any attempt to pleasure me. Maybe his mini dick was the problem. Nonetheless, I decided to surprise him at work today. Second biggest mistake of my life. I opened the door to his office and froze. He had some woman bent naked over his desk. His pants were around his ankles and he was pounding her hard from behind. Neither one of them had even noticed me come in. I stood there in shock, disgusted by what I saw. Oh, Dan, harder, fuck me harder, it feels so good. I was in hell. I couldn't speak, I couldn't move. Finally he looked up and I watched his face go pale. Olivia, what are you doing here? This isn't what it looks like. Oh, so you aren't fucking some skank over your desk 12 hours after you told me you'd marry me? Okay, it is what it looks like, but please, I'm sorry, she means nothing to me. I love you. Fuck you, I spat. I spun on my heel and stormed out. I flew out of the parking lot, rage and sadness overtaking me. For once in my life, I made a completely impulsive decision. I went to my shithole apartment, packed my stuff into 2 suitcases, and I tossed my roommate rent for the next month. I threw my bags in the trunk of my crappy 17-year-old car and headed for the gas station. I bought a map of the States, opened it up over my hood, closed my eyes and pointed. I opened one eye and peeped. New York City, here I come. I was done with this life. I was done with men. They were nothing but a bunch of fucking liars, only in it for one thing. I was starting over and I was going to kill it. Surely I can find a law firm interested in hiring me. Chapter 2, Gabriel. I was in hour 4 of interviews for the junior partner position and I wanted to jump out of the window of my 34th floor office. If one more pompous jackass walked through that door, I might actually kill someone. Don't get me wrong, I'm an arrogant asshole, but it has a time and place. I'm a senior partner and it's my family's firm. I get to be cocky. I walked out from behind the desk and stretched. I walked out of the waiting room to see how many ass wipes were left. I looked around and saw 4 ass wipes and, oh my god, I found our new junior partner. She was absolutely fucking angelic. Dark brown waves tumbling past her shoulders and halfway down her back. She had the most beautiful big brown eyes I'd ever seen and full red lips. She wore makeup, but it was light, not at all trashy. She wore a black pencil skirt that rode up her thighs where she sat. Her blood-red blouse strained against her large round breasts. She looked classy as hell. I was going to have her. She just didn't know it yet. She looked up and caught me staring, a slight blush covering her cheeks. I kinda like that. It was downright adorable. I was the one caught staring, and yet she was embarrassed. I looked at the list of interviewees and saw she would be the last for the day. Too bad I just couldn't dismiss the rest now, since there was no fucking way they were getting hired. I returned to my office, telling my receptionist Helen to show the next moron in. I muddled through the next 4 interviews, each of them just as stifling as the next, all the while thinking about her. Finally, there was only one interview left, the one I gave a shit about. Let's see if Miss Cameron was more than just a pretty face. Helen, you can go for the day. I just have one interview left. Thanks, Mr. Rhodes. Mr. Rhodes is my father. I've told you. Call me Gabe. Yes, Mr. Rhodes. I shook my head, chuckled, and walked out to the waiting room. Olivia Cameron. She stood up, straightening her skirt, and walked towards me, extending her hands. You must be Gabriel Rhodes. It's a pleasure to meet you. I took her hand and almost pulled it back when I felt the jolt. Holy hell, I could tell she felt it too. Her already large eyes doubled in size and her mouth pulled a small "oh." She pulled her hand away, pretending to smooth out her already perfect skirt. Please, follow me. I'm sorry it was such a long wait for you. It wasn't so bad, really. At least you guys swap out your reading material in the waiting room. It's sinful to have to suffer with a 12-year-old magazine in a waiting room, I said, laughing. Olivia let out a huge laugh. It was like fucking music to my ears. I could listen to that for 100 years. I was surprised that you were here so early. Surely there must have been other places you could have spent your day. I knew it was a long shot, but I thought, if someone else bails on the interview or really bombs it, maybe I could get in early. Besides, I'm sick to death of the Ace Motel. I forced myself not to get carried away with the thought of having Olivia on a hotel room. I swear to God, my dick was twitching just to spite me. I shifted slightly in my chair. I was immediately concerned. Ace Motel was notoriously known to rent by the hour, attracting the most unsavoury of people. Ace Motel? Do you have any idea how dangerous that place is? Why are you in a motel? Something flashed across her face, but it was gone before I had the chance to identify it. I've only been in New York for 3 days. I need a job before I can find a place to stay. And yes, based on the hourly guests I've seen, it's not my first choice, but it's what I could afford. So you see, sitting here and catching up on my reading was hardly a chore. What made you choose New York? Honestly, I would love to say I came for the opportunity to work for Rhodes, Montgomery and Schwinn, but I'd be full of shit. My circumstances changed and I basically threw a dart at a map. Now, once I got here, this was my top choice, so I figured that should win back some brownie points. I couldn't help myself. I belted out a laugh. Nothing like a little brutal honesty in a job interview. Not to mention the fact that she said shit. Fucking hilarious. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at your circumstances. Your honesty, though, is damn refreshing. You're the first interviewee today that I haven't wanted to throttle. Yes, I can understand that. Those clowns in the waiting room were something else. A bunch of pompous jackasses, if you ask me. Her hand flew up to her mouth and her eyes grew wide. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was horribly unprofessional of me. She rose from her chair, smoothing her skirt again, and grabbed her purse. I laughed again. No, Miss Cameron, that was perfectly honest of you, and frankly, I came to the same conclusion. Please sit down. We've only just begun. She looked unsure for a moment, but ultimately sat back down. Perfect. I'm first in line for the job, and we haven't even talked about business yet, she said with a grin. Well then, let's see to that. We can skip over education. I can see here that you were phenomenal. Tell me about your last job. I worked for Jones, Marks and Harrison in a few different capacities. I worked as a paralegal for 2 years, and then as an intern for the rest of my schooling. Once I graduated, I was hired as a lawyer and was on track to become junior partner. Did you enjoy working there? I loved it. I miss it. But I'm excited to see what opportunities there could be for me here. If you were on partner track, why did you leave? I could practically see the wheels turning in her head. There was a story here, and I could see her trying to figure out what version of the story to be for me. I wanted to know what could chase an obviously loyal employee to bail. I was also fairly certain she wasn't going to tell me. It's not really something I want to discuss in a job interview. I know that sounds awful, so let me say this. The reason I left doesn't exist in New York, so there's no chance of that happening here. I'm a damn hard worker, usually the first in and last out. If you hire me, it'll be the best decision you ever made, and I would not disappoint you. It was immediately evident to me that it was a man that had caused her to flee. I couldn't imagine what would possess a man to do anything to chase off a woman like Olivia Cameron. I was absolutely intrigued by her. I somehow don't think you could ever disappoint. You're the last interview for the position and by far the best candidate for a multitude of reasons. I need to run things by our other senior partners, but I think I can safely say we'll be offering you the position. Also, we don't always do this, but when we get a candidate of your calibre, we don't want to risk you losing you to a competing law firm. So, in addition to a hiring bonus, competitive salary, and bonus system, there's a corporate apartment I can offer you as well. An apartment? I doubt I could afford any rent or anything you guys own. Thanks though. I'm sure I can find something. No, Miss Cameron, you misunderstand. It would be your apartment rent free for as long as you worked here. You're by far the best candidate and I've seen for this position, and any law firm would be lucky to have you. I'm determined to make Rhodes, Montgomery and Schwinn your only choice. I don't even know what to say. If I get the job, then I guess thank you. When will you let me know? I'll let you know tomorrow. Now, the apartment does come furnished, but we can remove anything extra to make room for your things. If you could just provide me with a list of furniture you won't be needing, I'll make sure it's taken care of. I don't have anything to move in. You can leave it as it is. It was killing me not to ask, but she clearly wanted to hold on to her secret, and for now I would allow that. What was so horrifying in her old life that she would come to a strange city with nothing but the clothes on her back? Perfect. I'll call you tomorrow. Thanks so much for coming in, Miss Cameron. I think this is going to work out beautifully for both of us. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I saw her out and then closed my office door and sat down at my desk. Fuck, I said aloud. What the fuck had I been thinking? An apartment. There was no fucking apartment. And then, like the genius I am, I'd tell her I'll call tomorrow. I don't know what she's running away from, but I felt like I needed to do something nice for her. What the fuck is wrong with me? Okay, so realtor first, partner second. In actuality, there's only one partner that would give me shit about this choice, and that's my sister Ava. I love her dearly, but she's a pain in my ass. I die on my realtor. We grew up together, and I just know she would be riding me about this too. Hi Susan, it's Gabe Rhodes. Hey Gabe, how are you? I'm in a bind and I need your help. Oh God, what did you do now? I told a new junior partner that an apartment came with a job offer. Since when? She said with a laugh. It gets worse. I told her it was fully furnished. Seriously, Gabe, how big were her tits? Fuck off, Susan. It's not like that at all. Are you going to help me or not? Of course I'm willing to help you. How long do I have? I need it tomorrow. Fuck, Gabe. Fine, but if I'm working tonight, so are you. You work your rich people magic and purchase the furniture. I'll call you either tonight or in the morning with the address. I have a couple of ideas. Do you trust me just to run with it? I wouldn't come to you if I didn't trust you. I have to go home and tell Ava we hired this woman and then I'll get on the furniture. Oh my God, Gabe. Ava doesn't know. She's going to shit bricks. This girl better be worth it. She's extremely qualified. I hung up to the sound of Susan's laughter. I really stepped in at this time. I opened my bottom drawer and took a swig of my whisky before heading to Ava's office. I knew she would still be there. She worked longer hours than I did.